Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Raven Maureen, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make simplicity pattern 9956. Now this is a requested video. You guys asked for this, so I am delivering it to you. I hope you guys enjoy this sew along. Go ahead, grab your pattern, your fabric, and your sewing supplies, and let's get into it. So on pattern piece number 1, you have a side that has a single notch with 2 dots, and then you have a side with double notches. So the side with double notches is actually like your inseam crotch area. This is where your pocket is going to go. So go ahead and match the notch on your pocket, and we are going to pin this and sew it down at 3/8 at our machine. And if you already can't tell, I have already serged my pocket. I like to serge my pockets before I sew them into my garments because I always find that it comes out a lot cleaner. So go ahead and follow those steps as well. So after you've serged it, go ahead and press this out, and we are going to understitch right here along this edge. Okay, so we're going to do our pocket the same way on our back pant, but I did want to point out to you that your back pant has the 3 notches here, so you are going to pin your pocket on the side with the single notch right there and the dots right there. So we'll repeat those steps that we just did for the back as well. Right sides together, taking your front and your back pieces, we are going to pin them. And we want to be mindful of course, pinning the pocket and pinning where that dot is. So now we're going to take this to our machine and sew it at 5/8. So you'll sew from here to here, all the way down the pants leg, and then you'll come around this curve here for the pocket. Okay, now we're going to take pattern piece number 9, and at our iron we are going to fold it down at those notches there, press it, and then press it a 1/4 inch up. Okay, and this is what it should look like. So what you're going to do is you're going to run a stitch at 5/8 down one side, across the bottom, and up the other side, and then I'll tell you what to do after that. So understandably, this is probably a little hard to see, so I'm going to make a dot right here and right here, but you should have that single stitch line exactly where I told you to sew. And go ahead and make a little notch here and a little notch here, and then go ahead and just clip this corner here and here, and you're going to turn this right side out, and naturally it's going to turn those corners in. And I always find that it's a little bit easier to disguise the corner if it's notched in, like how it is there. So take this to your iron and press all of this down. Okay, so everything is creased under, and now I'm gonna do a top stitch across this line here. All right, so open your pants up and you should see your pocket right here. And this is your back and this is your front, or however you sewed it. All right, so if you can't tell, I do have 2 dot markings right here. This is where my pocket is going to go, just like that, right on top. And if you can't already tell, it's overlapping that side seam, so you're literally putting it right below your side pocket there. So grab some pins, and we are going to pin this in place right quick. All right, take this to your machine and edge stitch this all the way around, and then of course leaving the top undone. And while we're here, let's go ahead and stitch our top of our pocket to the front of our pants. Okay, now we're gonna try and attach our pattern piece number 4, which is the inseam. So it's the piece that looks like this with the little U shape. So I am working on the front side here. And if you are working on the front side like how I am, you have your double notches, and then like a good, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches down, you have a single notch. On pattern piece number 4, you have a single notch, and then you have double notches for your back pant leg. So we're going to match that single notch to single notch, and there's dots on this pattern piece, so you're going to match your dots, and you're going to take this all the way to the bottom hem. So no matter what view you're working on, it will go to the bottom hem. And then I'm just going to connect the back as well, because visually it just helps me see things better. So on the back side, just pull this, and again, match those notches. There's a dot up here as well. All right, so make sure you finish off your edges, and then even finish this one off too. And take your other pant leg and put it right side out. This one should stay inside out. And make sure that you are putting your front with your front. So you'll match your notches up. The front goes with the front. Yep. And then make sure too that if you're using contrasting fabric, that they match up at that seam. Just like that. All right, and then take this to your sewing machine and sew it at 5/8. Notice that I enclosed in this part right here and this part because you want the excess to not be outside of the seam allowance, but you want the excess to be within the seam allowance. Once you're done sewing down the inseam, you'll have it go to a point on the front and on the back. And I recommend that you give this section a really good press. That way you can actually see that shape take form the way it's supposed to. Once you do that, I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm actually going to skip down to step number 10, which is the facing for the cuff. Now, if you are someone that maybe you don't see the need for the cuff, that's fine. You don't have to do this step, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to do this step. And also, I feel like it gives it a really nice finish, and it gives it a nice weight on the bottom. So I encourage this. So you have a notched side, and then you have an unnotched side. So turn the unnotched side up by 5/8 all the way across, and then fold this in half, and there's some notches on the short side, and go ahead and match those up. And then do a stitch at 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so remember that notch that we have on this facing, and there is a similar notch here on your cuff. So go ahead and match those notches up. It's going to matter, I promise you. And put a pin right here. Match up your side seams as best as you can. All right, so take this to your sewing machine and sew it at 5/8 of an inch. All right, and go ahead and trim the seam allowance down as well. Try not to go through the stitch line. All right, so now that this has been trimmed down, go ahead and pull this out like this, and you're going to literally tuck it into the bottom of the pants leg. Now, I do recommend obviously turning your pant leg inside out at that point. Do a top stitch all the way around. All right, so this is your waistband. This is pattern piece number 5. Go ahead and sew down the sides at 5/8 and press them open. Okay, so go ahead and fold your casing in half. And I've already made one marking for my stitch line, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So fold your pattern piece at the waistline, and the waistline is up here. Then through the paper you can kind of see the stitch line of where it's supposed to go. So using clips or any sort of pins or anything like that, pin it down. And it'll be pretty accurate. All right, so now that we've got our stitch lines, I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the top of our pants. Matching up notches. So I've gone ahead and I've finished the edges of my waistband, and then I'm going to take one side of it and take my seam ripper and just undo a few stitches. Just like that. And we are going to sew this back at the end, but I just did this to kind of help with the stitching lines. So now you're going to sew across or sew on top of your stitching lines with your sewing machine. And these are going to be the stitching lines that you actually pull your elastic waistband through. And we're going to pull it through this tunnel here, but we got to do the stitches first. All right, so here's pattern pieces 6, 7, and 8. These are the elastic guides. And so I have kept all 3 of these together. And anytime that you measure your elastic, don't stretch your elastic when you measure it. Just measure it at its natural resting state, I guess you could call it. So we don't want to do this. We just want to lay it gently. So I'm going to actually measure these one by one. That way I don't get confused as far as like which length is which, because they are varying lengths. And so you can follow along with me at home, or if you've already cut these out, you know, go ahead and go for it. But I am going to start with the upper. This is going to be the upper. I'm going to grab a safety pin and pull this through the waistband. And you'll do this for all 3 waistbands. So I'm starting with the top one, and that little space that I cut open earlier, we're going to funnel it through. And again, we're going to do this for all 3 elastic bands, and then I'll show you what to do at the end once all 3 are in your waistband. All right, so at this opening, once you get to the edge of your elastic, you can overlap it and do a zigzag stitch. I just like to overlap mine just a little bit. And then just stretch the pants out and distribute the elastic evenly. And then you want to slip stitch this hole up. It came a little undone on this side, but slip stitch it this hole up, and then you're all set. All right, and then this last step, which is again completely up to you, take some twill tape, and all I did was measure out to 1.5 yards and basically did a stitch in the middle. That's what the directions call for, and then they want you to tie it in a bow. And it looks just like as if you have drawstring in your pants. I thought that was absolutely genius. But again, this is, I think in my opinion, an optional accent. But once you do that, you guys are all set. Thank you so much for watching this video and coming along with me on this sew along. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.